I could really long this video out for entertainment or algorithm purposes, but I'm not going to do that, at least not intentionally, because I don't think this video needs any hype or any superlatives, because the fight speaks for itself, really. It is undisputed at heavyweight, essentially the pinnacle of boxing. So let's get down to business. Let's talk about it. So long-time subs will know that I've always favoured Oleksandr Usyk in this fight. And to be completely frank and straight up, that is still very much the case. However, the closer this fight has come, the more I've actually started to heavily favour Oleksandr Usyk, which is seemingly some kind of taboo opinion to hold these days. But it's just that, it's just my opinion. I personally think that this is a bad matchup for Tyson Fury, both in terms of the stylistic dynamic, but also in terms of the fight's timing. And now, before people go absolutely nuclear, obviously I'm not saying that Tyson Fury has no chance. That would be incredibly foolish of me. He has some clear and considerable advantages on his side. Face value, he has the size advantage on his side, although I've been banging on for ages about how size works both ways. Bigger isn't always better, it's more so how you use your size to your advantage, it's the utility of it. But that aside, Tyson Fury undoubtedly has fantastic survival instinct and phenomenal powers of recovery. He's displayed that numerous times in his career, and I think these qualities, he'll have to use all of them come Saturday night. And if we want to talk about Tyson Fury's potential tactics for success or keys to victory, I'm unsurprisingly in the camp of people who believes that Tyson Fury must be extremely aggressive from early on and basically has to set about Usyk like a rabid dog from straight away. Because I think his best chance of beating Oleksandr Usyk is by physicality, using mauling, wrestling, bullying tactics to try and suffocate Usyk any way he can. And I feel like Tyson Fury has had to do that before. I think the best example is in the Otto Wallin fight, particularly after, I want to say, round 5 of that fight, but especially in the later rounds of that fight. You go check it out. The way Tyson Fury was fighting in rounds 10, 11, 12, I think he needs to employ that against Oleksandr Usyk, where he's not standing off, he's not trying to think too much, he's just looking to get any forward momentum he can to push his opponent back up against the ropes, trap him, lean on him, and obviously tire him out by making him deal with that physical presence. But also the way Tyson Fury was using offense. He wasn't taking too long. As soon as he was within range, trying to just impart some kind of force onto his opponent. So if he's thrown punches, it doesn't matter if it lands clean or whether it's partially blocked, but just really trying to string together forceful punches. Because even if they don't land on a vulnerable scoring area, it's going to knock his opponent off his construct. I think that's what Tyson Fury has to do with Usyk, because we've seen before when Usyk has been in against guys with this kind of physicality and they've tried to just punch him anywhere they can, you can kind of knock him off his construct a little bit. Now, he does a very good job of almost instantaneously regrouping, but if you're able to string it together, you can make Usyk look quite ragged, and it makes it very difficult for the quote-unquote pure boxer to get into that rhythm when you're physically perturbing him, for lack of a better term, physically disrupting him. I think that's what Tyson Fury has to do, where if you look at the Otto Wallin fight, it was almost like he was trying to shell up, and he brought himself down to Wallin's level and almost got underneath him. And it put Wallin in a very compromised position where he was almost upright and Fury was coming underneath him and just trying to target him wherever he could. And if Wallin tried to vacate and move off to the side, Tyson Fury would come after him. He'd use a straight shot to bridge the gap, close the distance again, and get back to work. And I feel like that's one of the times Tyson Fury really had the eye of the tiger. And I think he's going to need to take those same tactics and take that same kind of spirit into this fight. Because I don't think he can stay at long range against Oleksandr Usyk. I know people make out as if Tyson Fury's some kind of heavyweight Mayweather. Personally, I think that's completely unfounded. Undeniably, Tyson Fury is very slick relative to his size. But ask yourself, is it really that difficult to look like a slickster in a heavyweight Mayweather, quote unquote, against the likes of Deontay Wilder and Dillian Whyte, etc.? You know, guys like that. And on that note, I think people are going to be quite shocked when they see the stark difference in coordination and agility between Usyk and Fury, which, yeah, people may be shocked, but I don't think they really should be. I don't think it's much of a surprise because look at the size difference. And to get onto the size debate, which I've obviously alluded to earlier in the video, one of the key things I've been banging on about for ages is that size can work both ways and that bigger isn't always better. Once again, it's the utility. How does a fighter use their size to carry out the objectives that they're trying to carry out? For example, Oleksandr Usyk is the smaller man, undoubtedly. But is it an advantage when that smaller size affords him better mobility, better agility, speed, reflexes, economy, efficiency? All of a sudden, he's got all these things in his favour. And yeah, Tyson Fury's the bigger man who's stronger, probably hits harder, probably takes a better punch. But you can start to see that it's kind of swings and roundabouts, maybe, where both guys get certain advantages and disadvantages based on the dynamic. Just depends on how they use it. And I think all these things that Oleksandr Usyk's size affords him will help him at long and mid-range, where he has a bit more space to move around if he need be. And so I think that's what he'll need to do, is he'll need to maintain that fight at long and mid-range where he has space to move around, but he can also be in and out to time Fury, particularly if Fury looks to lunge in. Because Tyson Fury does seem to do that these days a lot, where he'll attempt some offense and almost just fall in to an engagement, into a clinch. And I guess in many instances it works because it's a basic attempt to offend and then smother, to take away and stifle any return fire. But I think Oleksandr Usyk, with the agility he has, with the reflexes and with the poise that he has a lot of the time, because this Oleksandr Usyk is someone who can be in front of a very sharp puncher like Anthony Joshua, for example. And I'm not trying to say Anthony Joshua is better than or worse than Tyson Fury, but in my head, I think Anthony Joshua, I definitely associate him as a sharper, more coordinated puncher than Tyson Fury, someone who's more sudden. And Oleksandr Usyk was able to stand in front of him, make him miss by a couple of inches, and counter him, sometimes with combinations. So I don't think you can underestimate the kind of poise that Oleksandr Usyk has, particularly when he's under fire. You can definitely disrupt him, but I think you need to do that with physicality, as I say. I don't think you can have that boxing match with Oleksandr Usyk and you're going to come out on top. And so, yeah, Tyson Fury as the bigger man, as the taller man, with that, I guess, that build that's better suited to long-range boxing. I don't think he's going to be able to do that against Oleksandr Usyk. Because Oleksandr Usyk, in his own right, has displayed a phenomenal ability to work around the lead hand of his opponent. How often do you see Oleksandr Usyk in against these bigger men who have the, I guess, tools that are better suited to long-range boxing? And within the first few moments of a fight, he's already working the jab. He's already working his way past their lead hand. And that's another thing about Tyson Fury is he's fairly reliant on his lead left hand from the orthodox stance. Very rarely will you see Tyson Fury shift his weight forward to unload the right hand and use that as a leading punch. He will do it sometimes, but it's not very often. He is very reliant on the left hand. And he has like a few set plays that he uses. He sometimes does this kind of stuttering feint. He'll do it twice, he'll do it 3 times, and then he'll throw a jab. That's one of like Fury's trademarks. There are other times where he might feint. Then he'll use a left hook round the side to kind of check the guard. Then he'll throw a jab in the right hand, or he might just do the left hook right hand. But within that variation, Tyson Fury doesn't really do all that much. There's not that much variation. He'll use his left hand to probe. He'll use it to jab. He'll use it to feint. As I say, doesn't always mix in that right hand, which can make a big difference. If you use both hands, you've essentially doubled your arsenal. But Tyson Fury, as I say, has that reliance on the left hand. And I suspect that Oleksandr Usyk, in relatively short order, once he's seen what Tyson Fury is going to attempt to do, he'll probably be able to work his way around it. And one thing that Tyson Fury also does with the left hand is if you can pressure him and get him to move backwards, particularly when his back touches the ropes, he'll often attempt to move laterally. He'll move out to the side. And logically, he'll use the extended kind of stiff arm left to engage that space between himself and his opponent, which, as I say, is logical because he wants some kind of barrier taking up that space as he makes that maneuver. The only thing is, even though Tyson Fury does that, he will routinely get hit by multiple different shots. Various different opponents of Tyson Fury, they are able to land offense when he does that. Otto Wallin in particular, who the difference between him and Usyk is there's a chasm between them. They're not even the same stratosphere in terms of quality. And Otto Wallin, against a fresher Tyson Fury nearly 5 years ago, he was able to time Tyson Fury when Tyson Fury was attempting to move laterally with that extended stiff arm lead hand. And I don't know what it is. I think Tyson Fury, maybe he feels he can take the shot, which I think would be kind of naive and silly, because you're just basically giving your opponent a free shot. Or maybe he's just so in love with his size that he thinks he's out of range when in reality he's not. And even though Usyk might not have that same kind of coverage as even someone like Otto Wallin, who isn't particularly rangy, I think Usyk will make up for it because he has the speed and he has that mobility. But also, Oleksandr Usyk really knows he understands the centre line and how to come off of it. And that's part of what Oleksandr Usyk does so well, is he has so many different moving parts that it's difficult to keep track of, particularly for these bigger guys who aren't as coordinated. They don't necessarily, there's a bit more latency with their movement. With Oleksandr Usyk, everything's quite compact, it's quite neat, it's quite organised. And he just has this fantastic ability to basically juggle all these moving parts to make sure he's very rarely stagnant or stationary. If you look at Oleksandr Usyk, yeah, he primarily jabs with the southpaw right, but he will threaten with the left hand. He will split the jab with the left hand, and he'll do that while coming off the centre line. But also, sometimes he'll be moving laterally and getting an angle. Sometimes he'll be in and out. Sometimes he'll be changing levels. How many times have you seen Usyk feint low, and then his opponent will try and jab over his lowered hand, but then he jabs up? And so he has all these different pathways past that right hand. And I think if he can do that, and he can bypass that lead hand of Tyson Fury, he's going to be able to line up a lot of offense. He might be able to split the jab, push Tyson Fury back, cut him off, and then re-engage. Particularly because Tyson Fury doesn't have the most consistent work rate. Sometimes when he's at long range, he is able to kind of bluff his way through, I think. Sometimes he postures and he feints, and it's almost like he's just buying a bit of respite because he wants to manage the timing of the round. And in some cases, he does it very well because he creates so much ambiguity. But I think Oleksandr Usyk is probably going to have a lot of confidence in his ability to react to those feints, but not be out of position. Come off the centre line, be it to the right or to the left, or maybe he'll just disengage and come out, or maybe he'll get an angle. And I think it's going to make it difficult for Tyson Fury to work anything off of that. And it's going to put Tyson Fury in a position where he's probably not landing much at long range, and he's falling behind because Oleksandr Usyk is probably getting to him and landing more. And maybe that sparks a bit more incentive in Tyson Fury to really close down the distance and start to use that physicality. But even then, even though this is how I think Tyson Fury should address the fight, I think he's still going to be open. Even when he's trying to apply pressure on Oleksandr Usyk, I think Usyk, his ability to react under pressure and keep for large stretches, keep his poise, I think that's going to be very costly for Tyson Fury. And this is where I see Tyson Fury kind of being in between a rock and a hard place, because I think Fury at long range won't have that much success. So he'll be incentivized to close down the distance and apply pressure. But then I think he's going to present even more of a target to Oleksandr Usyk. And I just think Usyk will be too accurate, too active, and ultimately too consistent over the course of a fight. And I don't even want to underestimate the kind of damage that I think Oleksandr Usyk can inflict on Tyson Fury. I'd be very surprised personally if that cut of Fury's doesn't open up. I think at some point that cut probably will open, and I can just see Oleksandr Usyk just landing too regularly. I don't think he's going to knock Tyson Fury out. I'd be quite shocked if that happened. I think if someone gets stopped in the sense of, they take a punch, go down and don't get up, I think that would probably be Oleksandr Usyk. Maybe if Tyson Fury can sink in a body shot. But I just don't see that happening. I think there is a real possibility that Oleksandr Usyk stops Tyson Fury, but probably his corner thrown in the towel or a referee stoppage, something like that. But I think Oleksandr Usyk wins this fight. I think he wins it decisively. I'm just not sure if it's going to be a points victory or a stoppage victory late. Like a referee stoppage, or maybe the cut forces a stoppage from the doctors or the corner. But yeah, I'm quite comfortably picking Oleksandr Usyk to win big. But that's just my opinion. However, leave yours in the comment section below. I'm sure many people are going to disagree, but hey, it's all fun and games. It's only boxing after all. But yes, we'll see what happens. Leave your comments down below and I'll get back to you. For now, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.